Nietzsche's Twilight of the Idols. Now reading from the section called Reason in Philosophy. Reason, so-called. You ask me what's idiosyncratic about philosophers, says Nietzsche. There is, for instance, their lack of a sense of history, their hatred for the very notion of becoming. Skipping a bit. These gentlemen who idolize concepts, that is how Nietzsche describes these philosophers he's talking about. He's talking about philosophers who dislike the idea of becoming. What they believe in is pure, unchanging, perfect being. They don't like becoming. Becoming is a concept that represents change. What they like, these philosophers, is perfect, unchanging being. And so they idolize their concept. They are gentlemen who idolize concepts. They idolize their concept of perfect being. What they should be doing is recognizing that becoming, the state of reality as in change, in flux, a reality in motion, is real, and it's not something you should be hating. Now, they all believe, desperately even, in what is, but since they can't get it into their clutches, they look for reasons why it's being withheld from them. They all believe in unchanging being, in what is, not in what is becoming. There is this ancient question in metaphysics. Is reality ultimately changing or unchanging? Beginning at least as early as Parmenides in the pre-Socratic tradition, some philosophers said that ultimate reality is not changing. Ultimate reality is being. And others, again, beginning at least as early as Heraclitus, whom Nietzsche will mention on this very page, beginning at least as early as Heraclitus in the pre-Socratic tradition, some say, no, change is real. Ultimately, what is real is a changing reality. But Nietzsche is talking about the philosophy that has, for the most part, been dominant in Western history. They all believe desperately even in what is, in perfect being. But since they can't get it into their clutches, they look for reasons why it's being withheld from them. They believe that ultimate reality must be unchanging, perfect being, but they don't seem to have access to it, so they look for some explanation for why they can't get perfect being into their heads. There has to be an illusion, a deception at work that prevents us from deceiving what is. Where is the deceiver? These philosophers ask. We've got the deceiver, they cry happily. It's sensation. It's the senses. He's still putting words, he's paraphrasing the thoughts of the philosophers. These senses, which are so immoral anyway, deceive us about the true world. There's a wonderful passage later in this text about the true world. The moral, free yourself from the senses' deceit, from becoming, from history, from the lie. History is nothing but belief in the senses, belief in the lie. Moral, say no to everything that lends credence to the senses, to all the rest of humanity. All that is just the masses, the ignorant masses. Be a philosopher, be a mummy. Portray monotonotheism with gravedigger's pantomime, and above all, away with the body, etc., etc. Let me try to paraphrase this and wrap up this video. A lot of philosophers have held that ultimate reality must be perfect, unchanging being. That is what would be ultimately real, and that the changing reality that we perceive in our lives must therefore be an illusion. Change must be an illusion. What is ultimately real must be unchanging. Nietzsche fiercely disagrees. Also on the same page, I set aside with great respect the name of Heraclitus, because there are those philosophers who have recognized the reality of change. But the dominant tradition, at least as Nietzsche understands it, with some reason to understand it this way, the dominant tradition has recognized ultimate reality as unchanging. And Nietzsche says that these philosophers who recognize ultimate reality as unchanging are looking for an explanation for the fact that they can't seem to perceive it. Instead, they perceive a reality that is changing. And so they blame the body and they blame the five senses of the body for deceiving them about ultimate reality. And so their moral is, well, away with the senses, away with the body, reject the testimony of senses, reject the testimony of experience, and reject the body and cling to that which the mind alone can understand. And in general, away with the changing reality of our perception. Thus Nietzsche critiques the philosophers. This is their idea of reason, this is their idea of being, and it's a bad idea.